All right, Claire, I think we are live. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
So excited. I've been wanting to start this for a while now, and I'm really looking forward to getting this started. And I'm really pumped that you're the first one I get to interview because I just think of all the things that I want every entrepreneur to know. And probably one of the top things I can think of is how to tell their story, especially today in this day and age.
Yeah, I think as an entrepreneur, you are your brand, right? Your story is your brand, and that's kind of what you want to put out, and it's important to know how to communicate it well.
Why don't you go ahead by introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then let's just dive right in.
Yeah, so my name is Claire Flores. I'm a business owner and a stay-at-home mom. I have 4 kids. I had 4 kids by the time I was 25. I got married really young and started family really young. And I remember being in this season where the kids were all little and I felt like I was hidden. I believed that I had talents and things that I brought to the table, but nobody was seeing them because I was so buried under dishes and diapers and laundry and just the life of being a stay-at-home mom. And I had this calling deep within me that I wanted to share. I wanted to have a platform. I felt like I had a message, but there wasn't a space for me to do that. And so I ended up launching a business when my oldest was 6 years old, my youngest was 1.5, and started a business from home. And I just felt like finally that was my platform. And it wasn't necessarily the platform that I thought I was going to be given, but it's amazing what's come out of that and the opportunities that have come out of that in running a business and being a mom and being a wife and carrying all the hats that we carry as female entrepreneurs. That it's been so special, and I've seen a lot of success in my business, and it's just been an honor to see the way that God can bless a business as we grow it. And I would say that the number one reason why I've had success is sharing my story, just learning to share my story and also to hear others. I remember sitting next to a successful older entrepreneur on the plane one time, and he told me, selling is listening. He was sharing with me about his success, and he said, selling is listening. When you truly can hear someone's story and what they genuinely need, then you will find out how you're able to meet that need. And that's really stuck with me. And I think people love to tell their own story. We love talking about ourselves. That's like our favorite topic, right? And so when we share our story, we actually give someone else the right to tell theirs too. They feel ready to tell theirs, and vice versa. When we listen to someone's story, we earn the right to tell ours, because it opens us up, right? When someone shares something vulnerable, you feel permission to share something vulnerable, and back and forth. And it's kind of this human connection that we get to have. And when you understand where someone's been and where someone's come from, then you can see how maybe you might be able to fit into their future as a business owner and a business builder and a marketer.
Oh my gosh, I love all that. I'm taking notes as you're talking because, I did hear it said once that the day you don't tell your story is the day somebody is in the world was listening for it and they didn't hear it. And obviously that can be on any platform, right? Whether you're out and about, whether you are on social media. But the bottom line is you might think that you've told your story enough and everybody knows it. And the reality is there might be one person in that room on your feed for the day that has never heard it, or that day everything is shifted for them and they need to hear it, right? And so the consistency is powerful, but also I know you're going to get into some of the different styles of telling your story, but I will say that I love that you said when we listen first, we earn the right to share our story. And I would say probably one of the most strategic things that I have done, and I wouldn't even call it strategy because I didn't know that I did it. I just became a great listener. And I was looking for somebody to share their want, their need, or their hate, because then I could know where I could be a solution, where what I was offering could be a solution, or maybe it couldn't, maybe I'd find out that it couldn't be a solution, but I love that. Earn the right to share your story. But I do want to say, Claire, that one of the things that makes you so good at what you do is you share your story almost every single day on social media. So there's not a day that somebody maybe doesn't get on and you're not sharing it. And so they go, oh, maybe she changed her mind and she's doing something different. You're so darn consistent,
Yeah. And I think the reality is that all of us, we've lived whole lives, right? We have all these different parts of our story. And that's why it's so important to continually share your story, become a serial storyteller, because the reality is there is going to be that different part of your story. I've lived, through a lot of different things. I've been a young mom. My husband's had cancer. I've lived through all of these crazy experiences. I've traveled a lot. I've lived overseas, but I don't tell all of that in one chunk, because it would be, first of all, pages and pages on social media posts, but also there's power in just honing in on one portion of your story when you can really share the emotion of that portion of your story, because that's when we truly feel connected to someone. And the reality is that my heartbreak is probably not the same as your heartbreak. My success is not going to be the same as your success, but the emotions therein may be the same. And that's where we can really relate to each other. And when we truly connect through story is when the person reading our story or hearing our story can feel what we're feeling, because that is that deep, like I mentioned earlier, that deep human connection that's very unique, that we're able to empathize and we're able to feel what someone else is feeling. And you can feel how I felt when my husband had cancer, even if someone in your life has never had cancer, right? Because if I explain well enough that feeling and all of that, and I think that's the part of where our marketing comes in as business owners of, for me, a lot of my story is I had a lot of difficulty financially before starting a business. And I share about being at the cash register and unsure if my card's going to either go through or decline. And all of those feelings, like the heat rising up my neck and shaking and being prepared to be embarrassed and kind of glancing at the person behind me in line and what are they going to think when my card doesn't go through, and all of these feelings. And if you've ever had your card decline, you're feeling it right now. Like you can feel all of those feelings. And then now being able to share that through a business, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't even hear the number when they say it. I'm laughing with the cashier. I'm hanging out with my kids. I'm saying yes to the lollipop in the checkout line. I'm not, scrimping and saving. And I think as an entrepreneur, when we're sharing our story, it's so important to share a key moment, that may or may not have been a turning moment for us, when we can just kind of contrast how life is different now through the success that we've been able to have.
That just made me think of another question that I'm going to ask you a little bit later. I want to make sure you get to share all the goods with us, but I'm sure that's why they say facts tell and stories sell, because when you can make that human connection, right? You can feel the heat rising up the back of your neck. You can feel all the emotions of what are they going to think when my card declines? That's not something everybody can relate to, but those that have experienced it certainly can. So Claire, why don't you break down for us in a very simple way for someone that might be new to owning their own business. They might be a new entrepreneur and they're just trying to figure this out. And they're watching all the YouTube videos, right? On how they can be a successful business owner. Tell us how sharing our story or what that looks like can really help, get things launched in a really good way.
Yeah, so I run a social media based business. So I'm having to share my story on social media, but you will be able to take these tools and apply them, whether you're sharing your story in person or on social media or through text or, however you're sharing it, or video is huge right now, any of the different ways that you're going to share your story. These tips will really help you. So I just have 5 simple steps of how you can kind of share your story and also just become a storytelling marketer. And whatever your business is, however you're trying to grow your business, this will help you, because stories really do drive home a need for whatever need you're able to fill. If you're a marketer, if you're a business owner, there is a need that you're able to fill. And I think it's important to establish that need and then to market towards that need of, hey, what gap am I sort of stepping in and filling for the person that I'm talking to? So number 1, I always say, start with what was your life like before you found your business or before you launched your business? And if you're someone that, maybe you're not advertising that someone's joining your business, but they're going to want to use your product, then what was your life like before this product came into your life? What was your life like before this business came into your life? And this should be 80% of your story. And the reason for that is that this is your pain, quote unquote. Okay. And 80% of your story should take place in the pain. Why? Because pain causes us to react. Pain gives us a knee-jerk reaction, right? You stub your toe and you quickly react to that, right? Every fiber in your being like jumps to attention as you react to it. That moment of pain, like your card being declined at the cash register, is something that inspires change and it causes you to react. And as a marketer, as a business owner, your goal is for people to react to what you're saying, to take action, to become, you know, to either buy your product or join your business. You want them to be moved to action, and pain is what does that. And the important part of this as well is that wherever you're at in your journey as a business owner, whether you've had a little bit of success or a lot of success, the people that you're marketing to can't relate to you and where you are now, because it's your own unique journey, and you want to relate to them, because it takes this posture from polarizing perfection, right? They may have you on the standard, especially if you're a social media marketer. We can be so sort of judged on the basis of, oh, everything is filtered and everything's edited. And this takes all of that away. And it just says, here's my story. Here's my authentic truth of something I've been through, of a struggle that I've had. And the reality is that some part of them, some struggle that they've had is going to relate to what you're sharing. So 80% of your story right there. And if you are a brand new entrepreneur, you just started your business 5 minutes ago, this is great news for you, because it means that the bulk and the most important part of your story is already written before you even begin your business. And this is everything that happened before your business. And it's just important that you aren't only sharing the success, because that's not the real magic. The real magic is the pain, because that's what truly ignites that connection of, hey, I can relate to you. And it takes you from up here, marketing from up here, to sitting beside them and saying, here's my story. Have you ever been through this too? And again, you're sharing your story. You're now earning the right to hear theirs, because now all of a sudden, when they realize that I have experienced having my card decline in the checkout line, I don't seem so distant. I seem very equal. And that makes them trust me.
I was just going to say, and that's exactly what I was going to tell you, is when we tell our story and we start from our pain, and you guys, the pain can be a lot of different perspectives, right? I mean, maybe you had your card decline, but maybe you also know what it's like to run out of gas or not have enough to fill up, you know, to put gas in the gas tank. I'm just saying there's multiple pains that we can share, and it keeps us relatable, and it also keeps us humble. And, you know, we live in a social media world where the highlight reel is always on display. And I don't know about you, Claire, but that highlight reel for others can almost cause me to crawl into my shell and not be loud about who I am, what I have to offer, and the possibilities that are available to us. And so I like that you said that, because I was just talking to someone today. I was like, all right, I know the next Reels video we need to share. It's instead of, you know, where you like sit into an outfit and get up looking all sexy and put together. Instead, it's like you all sexy put together on social media. And then boom, the pop is like what it really looks like at home, right? Juggling the kids, in the car, kids falling asleep on the couch instead of putting them in bed and reading them a storybook, like your dream thought of a mom putting their kids in bed. And so I do really like the fact that the pain is 80%. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where the connection really takes place. And that draws me into someone's story when and I think that's important too, when you're composing your story on social media, whether it be in a video or in text. I think it's important to have a moment, hone in on a moment. Think of it as scenes instead of the whole movie. Think of a scene in the movie instead of, you know, the entire movie start to finish, because when you paint that one scene, you now take all of that. It's like, have you ever heard of like the airline analogy where when they're testing the airplane, they get women to walk with like stiletto heels, because that is the most, you know, I'm not very good at science. Cammy's over here. They're probably like, you know, they have all the terms and everything, but that's where, you know, you have that concentration of weight, right? And so you want to concentrate those emotions in one simple moment. And when you try to focus on sharing every part of your story all at once, we lose that poignancy. We lose the impact that we can have when we just share one key moment. Mm-hmm. And that's where, here's the thing, when I'm writing my story, I would rather so deeply connect with 5 people than a little bit connect with 1 million, because I'm going to have greater impact with that smaller group of people, you know, than I would by just kind of like throwing out, well, here's my whole story. I'm going to scatter it like birdshot, right? And I'm going to hope that it hits somebody. Instead, I'm really going to speak to one specific person. I think it's important too, when you're writing your story, to just speak to one specific person and, you know, share that emotion. But all right, let's give you number 2 of how to tell your story. And now, you know, that was 80%. So it's okay that we spent a little bit of time. Can't get number 1. That is the bulk of it. But number 2, tell them how you started your business. Was it an idea that you had one day? Did someone offer it to you and you maybe saw their story? How did it come about? How did you find your business? And this is further, you know, like giving more detail to that before your story, because now they can relate to even more, because especially if you're offering a business opportunity, like a lot of entrepreneurs today are, if you're offering a business opportunity, they're seeing themselves in the moment that you found it. And, you know, don't be afraid to say, and number 3 is tell what you were skeptical about, tell what you were nervous about, tell what you were fearful about. So we have number 1, what was your life like before? Number 2, how did you find or start your business? Where did the idea come from? And number 3, what were you skeptical about? What were you fearful about? And the reason we do this is, you know, we don't want anyone to feel confronted when we share our fears, because anytime you put anyone that you're having a conversation with in the offensive position, you lose a little bit of their heart. And you as a marketer and as a business owner, you're trying to establish trust with everyone that you're talking to, everyone that you're connecting with. And especially right now, doing so much on social media, you have to do it from a distance. You don't have that opportunity to sit in person with someone and touch their shoulder and have that connection. You have to do it through social media. And so you are building and building and building and building this level of trust. Now, if you go and in sharing your story, you put them on the offensive or even on the defensive, right? If you put them on the defensive of being like, some of you are so skeptical of, you know, being a business owner. I've seen that, we've all seen the memes, you know, some of you would rather slave away 40 hours a week in a factory than build your dream, you know, and where we're kind of like going, you know, and we're like defending ourselves and defending what we do from all the quote unquote haters. But now what you've done is you've taken people that were genuinely interested and you've made them like, oh, that wasn't what I was trying to do, you know, sorry. And now they've just put a guard up. And you've been bringing their guard down by sharing your story, sharing your heart, being vulnerable, and then it's going to shoot right back up unless you share your fears. Don't address their fears, share your fears, because at the end of the day, they're going to identify with some of your fears. You know, for me, I didn't know if I was the kind of person that anyone would take seriously as a business owner. I was a stay-at-home mom. I slung diapers all day. I didn't think that people would take me seriously as a business owner. I dropped out of college. Why would someone think that I have anything to offer or that I could have this kind of success? And as I share those fears, they're going to empathize with me. And that's a very, very powerful place to be. And they're also going to be able to identify some of their fears here as well. And don't get too specific with your fears. Keep it relatively general, because you also don't want them to say, oh, that's not me. I don't really have that issue. You want them to say, yeah, there is some part of me that struggles with that. And by keeping it general, you know, I don't always say that I lived in a town with one gas station, but I say that I didn't have a very big network, because that's a pretty relative thing that anyone can feel. Someone with 5,000 friends could feel that way, and someone with 50 could also feel that way. So keeping it, you know, in a place where they can kind of identify with wherever you're at in it.
I love that. Okay, so let's review. Let's see if I'm taking good notes. Number 1, we need to talk about our pain, right? We need to talk about what life looked like before the business or the product came into our life that we're sharing. That's 80% of your story. Number 2, how did you find it? How did you get involved? And then number 3, what are you nervous about? What are you skeptical about? And I love that you talked about empathizing versus just like, hey, y'all, I know you're haters. You know, you're not coming at, again, you're not coming at the some of the comments that are made or the common beliefs, but instead you're really just trying to empathize with where they're at. And I feel like that takes it back to the part where you started with the pain, right? And I feel a lot of people are out there communicating, telling us what we need, telling us what we should do, but it's when we can make that connection that we're truly drawn in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then you're just sharing, what's your life like now that you're a business owner. And this should be minimum, like, or maximum 20% of your story. And you've probably accomplished a lot. You've probably had a lot of success, you know, or you're well on your way to having success as a business owner, because we know that owning your own business works in this day and age and where we're at and how life is. Everybody wants to own their own business, right? Everyone sees the importance in that. They see the importance in being a social media marketer or being a business owner, you know, having an original idea. There's importance in that. And so we know that you either are having success or you're well on your way to having success, but just share a glimpse of that. And the reason for that is, with all that white space that you're going to leave, you know, you're going to share maybe that you feel you have a lot more freedom now in comparison to the card declining. You might share that you have some freedom, but you're not going to share exactly how much freedom, right? We're not giving the amount in our bank account. We're just kind of allowing some white space. We're talking more about the way that we feel than what we've actually achieved, right? We don't need our list of achievements or, you know, any of that stuff. We just need to share how we feel, how it made us feel, because that's what's going to be tempting to someone that's interested in getting involved with you, is how am I going to feel? That's what gets you there, right? How is it going to feel when I finally get there? And that's what they're already daydreaming about. That is what they're already daydreaming about. They're already dreaming about, what is success going to feel like? What's it going to taste like? What's that moment going to be like when I get in that car that I've been dreaming of? You know, so we share that feeling, but all that white space gives them room to dream. You want them to read your story and come to the end of it by saying, I bet I could do that. And you want them to have a specific dream in their mind. And if you put the dream in their mind, then you're going to once again break some of that connection that they're needing to have with your story. You want them to be seeing themselves in your story. Donald Miller, in the book Building a Story Brand, he talks about, you know, your customer or your potential business partner, whatever it is for you in your business, needs to be the hero of the story. And the mistake that most marketers make is they try to be the hero. But the reality is that that's not what people are looking for. They're not looking for you to be the hero. They're looking to become the hero of the story. They want to be the protagonist of the story, the main character. That's what they're looking for. And so if you set yourself up as, look at me, let me put it this way. If your story is just a biography and it's like, look at me, look what I've done, look what I've accomplished, here are my struggles, here's where I am now, look at me, then we're just bragging. We're really just bragging, and we're just asking people to look at our story. And now what you've done is you've actually built a wall where you were trying to build a bridge. You've built this wall of, here's my story, and now they're just going to walk away. But when you open it up for them to write their story, and then that brings us to step number 5, which is you're going to invite them to get involved, either by purchasing or joining, whatever that is for your business. You're going to invite them with that very last line of your post to get involved. How are they going to contact you? Reach out and send me a message if this resonated with you. You know, what's that invitation? That's where then this bridge that you've built, now you're like, okay, come on, let's walk across the bridge. Let's really meet. Let's do this. Let's partner up and let's go the rest of the way together. Instead of just, wow, I just read a really inspirational post and now I'm just going to go on with my day and read the next post on my feed, right? Or I'm going to get up from this conversation that we just had and I'm going to walk away and just have another, you know? So this is instead, hey, I want to be involved. I want to be part of this.
So I'm going to ask you just to repeat one more time. It sounds like that's a great book recommendation for whoever is listening to this on replay, to be able to, if they want to dive deeper into this concept of being a good storyteller. Or what I like what you said earlier. You said, you know, become a serial storyteller. So what is the name of the book?
It's Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller.
I actually have read the book. I just love that you were sharing it. And
I knew you'd read it.
No, I just love it though. You just have such a great way of talking about it and personalizing it. And again, I love the concept of building a bridge versus just having a wall and you being the hero of the story. Everybody wants to be the hero of their own story, right? And some people feel like the cards they've been dealt, that, you know, they can't fix it. Or others think, well, maybe I can, but based on how we tell our story, we'll help them really believe whether or not they can be a part of this process too, you know? And we're all working with disbelief, things around us and all the things telling us we can't, when in reality, we know we can. So I love that, Claire. Well, I know we said this already about being able to really connect and relate with people through our story. So, okay. Hi, sweet girl. Mama's doing an interview, so you need to go out, and I'll be out in just a minute. Okay, honey? Okay, sounds good. That's the beauty of working from home, right? Is we get all the kid things too. I was like, this is not happening right now, but that's fine.
It keeps you relatable, Cammie.
So again, I was just going to say that is how much we can continue to relate is super important. And I will tell you that you don't realize it, but as you start having more success in business, it becomes harder and harder to really relate with those pains. And so what I love about this strategy of building your business is it keeps that in the forefront of your mind. So you're always staying grateful and you're always staying humble, because in reality, the more humble and relatable we can become, the more likely we'll continue to have a thriving business. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Claire, I know we wanted to make this short and sweet. Anything else you want to add for our listeners today to be able to help them become a better serial storyteller?
I think I would just say to empower you to start telling your story and practice. Feel free to practice. You're not going to be an expert at telling your story the very first time you try to tell it. You might stumble through a few times. I know there have been many versions of my story along my way to kind of finding the one that I typically tell. But one thing that I just want to leave you with is, you're in this sea of business owners. There are probably multiple people that offer a product like yours. There are probably multiple people that offer an opportunity like yours. But at the end of the day, the one thing that you have that no one else has is your story. That's your one unique offering that you bring to the marketplace, that you bring to your world, is your story and the unique things that you've gone through. And the reality is that there is someone out there that needs to hear your exact story and that will connect with you. And when you have that human connection, it's like taking it from a sheet of facts, and there will always be somebody more qualified. There will always be somebody with a better track record or a better resume. But at the end of the day, there won't always be somebody with your story and your authenticity and your vulnerability. And so if that's what you're leading with in the marketplace, that's something that no one can compete with. And at the end of the day, true success is not being able to be competed with, right? We say as entrepreneurs, we want to be unhireable, right? We want to be to where no one can hire us because we have so much success on our own. It's the same thing here. You want to be uncompetable with, right? Not a word at all, but we'll make it one. You don't want to be able to be competed with because no one has my story. So I know that no one can truly mentor the other business owners that I can mentor as well as I can. No one can truly help the people that genuinely need what I have to offer, because I have to, I have my own story to tell, and so do you. And so just go start telling that story confidently, knowing that by opening that door, you're going to build the bridge for the exact people that are meant to come into your business, and your business will just thrive because of it, because you'll be surrounded by people that have true connection with you. When you have true connection with the people that you're working with, you're unstoppable.
So good. You attract who you are. That is for sure. Claire, you're saying that, I almost got emotional because I've been an entrepreneur now for almost 15 years. My son will be 15 in June, and he was 9 months old when I started this business. And so I'll never forget when I went through my divorce, and I thought it would absolutely change everything for me. I thought it would absolutely break my ability to be a business owner. I thought it would break my influence and the ministry that I also felt this was. And yet what I found is it has continued to build my platform and open the door to the perspective that I can share, right? And I think that's exactly what you said over and over again. And so you guys embrace some of the storms that you go through, embrace the experiences you've had, good, bad, indifferent, ugly, whatever you want to call it, because it all creates the value that adds to your platform. And just don't be afraid to share it, because at the end of the day, a lot of times so many of us feel so alone, or we're the only one that's ever experienced something like that. And in reality, we're a lot less alone than we think that we are. But we just need more people to courageously step out there and share their stories like Claire's talking about today. We are going to get into authenticity and things of that nature, but definitely it's got to start with telling your story. And I love it. You're right. You got to practice. You got to put it out there. You got to adapt it a little bit, let it evolve. You'll read somebody else's and go, ooh, I like the way they said that. And you can kind of make that creatively your own. But Claire, thank you so much for sharing all the things that we need to know about sharing our story.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to read a lot of stories.
I love it. All right, you guys have a good day, and don't forget to check back here to see what else every entrepreneur should know. Bye, everybody.